talking about it, they thought they were probably nuts. But look at what we've accomplished. And there's some other ideas and opportunities out there similar to the canal system that we could bring additional water supplies. One of them is one of the council members in Casa Grande. Some people think it's an off-the-wall comment or idea, but I absolutely love it. And that's bringing a canal system clear from the Missouri River, the upper Mississippi, I should say. All the billions of dollars we spend on rebuilding infrastructure whenever they flood out every other year. We could redirect some of that canal, some of that water up along I-80 and bring it across and help other states like Kansas and Montana, areas where there is some other issues. And just by diverting it, it's 1,000 miles. If we can do 336 miles like we've done here, clear back in this and have that discussion, clear back in '68, we sure have a lot better technology and the ability to do something like that today. So those are some things, and those are the discussions that we as a county have been engaged in and looking at for some time now. The other thing is, when they built the CAP canal, that was phase one, was building the canal. Phase two was to look at additional reservoir opportunities that we could dam up water. We have some, we don't get a whole lot of rain here, but when we do, it comes. And so we need to look at some other opportunities so we can actually dam the water here up on the eastern side of our county and create some other damming opportunities that's going to feed into and supply our water supply, rather than just let it run down the Gila River all the way out and go out into the ocean and bless Mexico with all of it. We need to be capturing some of these opportunities. You know, we've got Maricopa County here that has some huge flooding problems whenever we get the rains on Pecos. We just had a meeting with City of Mesa in regards to that, because we're going to be building Meridian Road along with the town of Queen Creek. That's going to be punched all the way through to the 24, and we've got designs now. A big portion of that's going to be done here by spring of next year, from Combs all the way down to Germain. So there's a lot of things that the county and the Queen Creek and all of our other municipalities that we work with are moving forward on, and so we just need to keep moving that forward and keeping these communications between us and working together as communities that come together rather than fight each other. We've got to find regional solutions to our regional problems.
And certainly we'll take a big solution for our water issues.
Right.
But speaking about your specific district and water, Johnson Utilities and EPCOR.
I was waiting for you to bring it up.
Anything you might want to add on what's happening there?
You know, the biggest frustration I have had in all of this is that we shouldn't even be in this position right now. We shouldn't be. That was my biggest frustration when I first came into office. We missed it. Our leaders missed it. And we have our communities that are been affected by that. That's not right. At all. And so we may have missed it, but we still have an opportunity to make it right. And I think the Corporation Commission has been doing it. Please cut that out, Parker. Okay. What's frustrating is that guys like me that get in these positions, we sometimes get caught up in who we are, and rather than what we're there for. And that's the disappointing part of it all. And so some of the leaders in our Corporation Commission, I think they've missed it. I think there's some good people in there. I think there have been good people in there. But when these influences kind of help sway them in a wrong direction, or at least not looking at the bigger picture, and looking at it from self-interest only is unfortunate. I think we missed an opportunity, and I shouldn't say that. I think I've always advocated for the connections between Queen Creek and Johnson Utilities. I believe that could have been worked through effectively to where it didn't hurt Johnson and it didn't hurt Queen Creek, and it could have benefited the entire region in the long term. But because of personalities and issues that were from years ago, okay, that got in the way of a lot of these discussions and being able to work through some of the problems that we as a region have issues and problems with. Queen Creek, Pinal County, Santan Valley, all of us. And so we could have been relieved from some of our sewage issues, with our water issues, through these connections for a period of time, allowing a regional solution to the problem. That's what should have happened, in my personal opinion. Now we're at a point to where they're talking about a large amount of money being dumped into a system.
Like
that $180 million is what the projections are. We've been having some kickback from Johnson, obviously, that's unfortunate. But nonetheless, he's a guy trying to protect his company, trying to protect his, his legacy, his business, and everything else. That, he's a businessman. But the problem is that we have to look at this from a regional perspective. We cannot think of it from this area, that area, this area. What Queen Creek has done with Gilbert and Mesa in building that plant that you have over on is something that should and needs to happen out this way, especially with the growth.
The combined wastewater treatment
Absolutely.
facility.
With the growth and everything else that we've got coming out here, those things need to be planned, and they should have been planned years ago. And so we need to still do those kind of plannings. So that's where I'm at on that. EPCOR has done a pretty good job, I believe. We see a lot of positive things taking hold and moving forward. Number one is our customer service that we get from Johnson Utilities is dramatically changed with EPCOR being in there. And that seemed to be a big issue with a lot of our constituents, a lot of my constituents, was just the customer service alone was terrible. And the way they treated people like they were lowlifes. And they needed, everybody deserves to be treated appropriately, no matter what stage you're in. And that's, anyway. So there's that. That's changed. They're making some improvements on their lift stations and things like that. We just did have another overflow in one of our communities because of a failure in one of the lift stations here just a couple weeks ago. But keep in mind, that's not EPCOR's problem. They've inherited a problem that was created by the lack of maintenance, the lack of really actually looking at this thing in a proper perspective. And so they're trying to put fires out left and right that it's just really difficult to do. But my hat's off to them for what they're doing.
When do you think we'll be on a path from, say, Band-Aid and fixing to, say, long-term improvements and solution? Do you think that's near, or are we still a pretty good ways away?
I have hope that it's near, but we've been told that they've got a master plan that they've been working on, and that was supposed to come out back in September, and we are in the middle of October, and we still haven't seen that master plan yet. So we're still waiting on that. There's been talk about another plan that will shut down Section 11. But the projections on that is 3 years out. I mean, they haven't even asked for a rezoning of some of the property that they have, and I'm speculating there's going to be kickback on that from our citizens on rezoning that. But nonetheless, that hasn't even been sought out, and so those things still have to take place. So we're probably a good 3 years out before, or maybe even longer, before we can even shut down Section 11.
So a little ways out, but sounds like they've been making some good progress.
They have. They cleaned up Section 11 quite a bit. I mean, we don't have, which is the one out on Hunt Highway, we don't have as near as the complaints that we've had in the past. They've dredged out a lot of the sludge that was built up over all those years, which was a big part of the problem of the smell and everything else that was taking place out there. So that's been, and because of EPCOR, that's been happening.
Good. Were there any other things that you wanted to touch on?
I think
we covered it all pretty good. Good. At that point, I think we can take a few questions from the floor. Anybody have anything on their mind?
I'll do a comment if you don't mind.
Councilmember Brown.
I always like to take the opportunity. There was a lot of talk today about regionalism, and Pinal County Board of Supervisors in general, but especially Supervisor Goodman, has been very good to the town of Queen Creek. We have some shared constituents, constituent bases anyway. I represent 53,000 people, and especially Supervisor Goodman has just been extremely helpful in regional solutions such as a overpass, SR 24 at Ellsworth Bridge. They've penned letters in support for us. Was talked about earlier, Signal Butte Road, Meridian Road, Riggs Road. All of these are examples of things that benefit our constituents and Supervisor Goodman's constituents, and it wouldn't be possible without that regional participation and partnership and working together, and I thank you, sir, for that.
No, thank you. And that's, you know, regardless of where Queen Creek is, as long as they're in Pinal County, your constituents are my constituents. And some people think that if they annex into Queen Creek, they're no longer in Pinal County, which is just, it's crazy. But if they're still in Pinal County, they still have the obligations to Pinal County that they've had in the past. And so, you know, we've got ALA sitting right here. They're in Pinal County. Sorry, guys. I'm not really sorry. No. Because I live in Pinal County. Yeah. You're my neighbor.
Yeah, right behind us. There was talk earlier, if you don't mind, to finish the thought, we talked earlier about the north-south freeway. And I know that we're in agreement with yourself as to what alignment makes the most sense, but there's a bit of misinformation out there, and I was hoping you could address it. There are some folks that are thinking the further out alignment is beneficial to them, since they are saying that homes will be bulldozed to make way for the north-south freeway. And it was my understanding that the corridor includes no homes built at this time.
The preferred alignment by the county is no home being bulldozed. It puts everything on the eastern part of where the homes are. So it actually crosses over the canal system twice, the CAP canal. But it does bring it to where it does help eliminate or reduce some of our traffic issues that we have. And the growth is, right now, is right here close to where we are. It's not 8 miles due east. It is not due 8 miles due east. It's this direction. Now, I did find out some information in regards to the ADOT. You know, we do have a lot of flooding issues there, and that could be one of the reasons why they discuss going further east. And so as we look at this a little bit farther, we get at, you know, on these critical points, looking at these issues and some of the concerns, there is some additional solutions, though, to be able to still bring it here, bring it closer to where we are, and to meet the demands here, and it could also meet the demands of the future growth. That's really what we need.
And I think everybody can go online and take a look at the
yes,
the alignments and then weigh in on them. I think in general, the one that would be closest to us is approximately 3 to 4 miles off of Ironwood. And the one that they're talking about furthest east is then like 8 miles or more.
Correct.
From Ironwood.
Correct.
So quite a bit of difference there. And there were some flooding, but it was my understanding from talking to the engineers the other night that there's flooding in the entire zone.
That's correct.
So one way or another, we're dealing with flooding.
We're gonna have to, that's exactly the whole point of all of this, is that we're still gonna have to mitigate those issues as we move forward on this. But you know, the bottom line is, you may or may not agree with me, and that's okay. But at least come out and make your voice heard. More than anything else, that's the biggest thing that I have been frustrated with the most, is that we all have a tendency to sit back and complain about things, but to actually get out, and we do it behind the scenes rather than get out and make our voice heard. Because it's when we make our voice heard that we make results, we get results. Who would have ever thought that me taking on the challenge of some of our issues that we have here would have got some of the results that we've gotten right now? And all I did was listen to many of our citizens and then help give voice to what the problems were in our area. That's all I did. And look at where we are today with some of the changes and positive things that are taking place. So one person speaking out and doing what's right can and should and will make a difference.
I think that's a great place to end it on. So,
Okay.
Supervisor Goodman, thank you so much for your time.